Hello, everyone. Jason Hagcomb here, back for another edition of Jason and the Gentleman. And as always, to do this show, I'm joined by the gentleman of mixed martial arts, the gentleman Josh Hill, who may or may not be having a little bit of technical difficulties, but we'll plug through this. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing quite well. Well, Josh, it was a crazy week of mixed martial arts. Let's just get right into it here. Especially, we had Fedor return with Bellator in Russia and look
Yeah.
fantastic. We had Paulo Costa have one of the craziest weight issues and demands, and then getting his demands, and then putting on a pretty solid fight. And then, this week we have PFL tomorrow night, and we also have a UFC pay-per-view in the early morning with UFC 267. So lots to tackle. Let's get into the UFC first, because I want to get your take on Paulo Costa, who shows up on Thursday pretty much at 218 pounds for his contractual middleweight fight. Says, I'm not going to make the weight, so they just make a catch weight at 205. I mean, how is this allowed?
I mean, they can do whatever they want if they can fine him for, missing 20% or start taking 20% of his purse for missing the weight and making it a catch weight. But it looks to me like, obviously, just watching the fight, the guy showed up. He's training hard. You know what I mean? He was ready to go. He went 5 rounds and looked good. You know what I mean? And probably won 2 to 3 rounds. Um, so he was definitely in shape. It just seemed like he was too big and probably didn't maybe properly diet down, didn't want a weight cut, whatever the case may be. But yeah, giving up 20% of his purse. But that's why the penalties should be larger. You know what I mean? Because then they wouldn't have anything. If it was 50%, then he probably wouldn't have done this shit, right? Kudos to Marvin for taking the fight, because there's a lot of times where that maybe the fighter or the coaches will tell the fighter, no, like, we signed a deal for middleweight. That was what we're planning on doing. I'm not a light heavyweight. This is not in the contract, and they could have just said no and scrapped the fight. But yeah, it's bullshit, really.
It, to me, just makes Paulo Costa look like the most unprofessional guy
Yeah,
in the entire roster. Like, on a Thursday, you're showing up like that much poundage overweight, and then still making demands like, look, I'm not gonna make it, and can we just make it at this weight, and what have you, and still get his wish. I think for his sake, as you said, he fought well. Like, thankfully, he fought really well for how much of a disaster
yeah,
he was. Because if he didn't fight well, for sure he's cut. Like, there's no way you can bring someone that unreliable to make weight, and has now had a track record in the past of kind of just being kind of a diva. Like, lost to Israel and was like, it was the wine's fault. It wasn't his fault. It was the wine's fault. And now you go out there and don't even make an effort to make weight, get a whole new fight set up for you in a weight class. And thankfully, as I said, he fought well. But he's also had the nerve to say middleweight's his division. I don't think you can say that when you don't even make an effort to make weight.
Yeah, man, he's definitely got some drama around him everywhere he does. You're right, diva. Yeah, if he had come out and went gung ho for the first 2 minutes and looked fabulous, but then had zero gas tank and was done after that, then got finished later or whatever, then yeah, there would be probably different talking right now, and potentially release and whatnot. But yeah, thankfully he did fight a very good fight. It was very entertaining, back and forth, high skill set. It was a good fight, really good, from both guys. So that was a saving grace. But yeah, to say this middleweight's my division, bro, like, you didn't, like, that. I don't know, that this guy's a little delusional. Um, you know, I don't, just if you fucked up and you couldn't make the weight, just say, listen, I had to move up this one, things weren't happening, I had an injury, whatever, but I'm going back. I will make 185. And don't say, like, don't even address that you didn't even come close to making weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and not even pretty much taking ownership of it.
Yeah.
It was kind of making excuses or blaming other things on why he didn't make the weight. Like, bro, it's on you. Like, you signed the contract to fight at 185, and you didn't even make a valid effort to make middleweight. And, Vettori did make that. He was probably going to make championship or around championship weight at 185 and then moves up to 205, a whole weight class, because you were just being unprofessional about it.
And that's 20 pounds too. It's not even like bantamweight to featherweight, 20 pounds. That's where I do think there should be a 195-pound weight class there. You know what I mean? Because that's a huge jump. 20 pounds, a lot of weight, man.
But I think it also goes to the point of what you were saying, where the fines need to be higher, because guys like Costa, they don't care. They're losing 20%. They're losing, 70, 75, even 60 or 50. They're going to care a little bit more. They're going to definitely be in the sauna. They're going to be, going for those runs when they don't want to. And
or moving up weight classes.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think we've seen our weight misses and issues like that this year, but this one is the worst, and just the lack of respect and how unreliable can the UFC really be at trusting this guy going forward. I think that was the big thing, and why I think him fighting as well as he did is his saving grace, as the word you put it there, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be hesitant to give him main events now. You know what I mean? Just for the risk of it falling through. So, yeah, because like I said, Marvin could easily said, no, I'm not doing this. And all the power to him if he didn't. But thankfully they did, just to save the fight. But yeah, it's gonna very unreliable right in the future. So
yeah, and for Marvin Vettori, that's a big win. I believe he pretty much had it across like 50 to 45 across the board on the judges' scorecards. I think maybe one judge gave Costa.
No, I think it was. I remember it was different. I think they gave him 2 rounds, Costa, but the point deduction.
Right, there was the point, which also, by the way, Daniel Cormier also had the nerve to say, "Oh, the point deduction was there from Jason Herzog because he was biased and mad that Costa didn't make the weight." I'm like, that's the most insane thing I've ever heard from anyone. Like, to judge Jason Herzog's character as someone that would be having an interest in that. Like, no, he warned you like 3 times. Don't poke him in the eye.
Did he warn him? Yeah,
he did warn him.
Because when he originally came and talked to him, he just said, I given you a warning, blah, blah, blah. I heard that part. And then he went back to Marvin and whatnot. And then he came back and took a point off. And I was like, well, you can't give him a warning and then not let them fight more and then take a point, So if you gave him multiple warnings throughout, then I can understand. But it wasn't like the fight was stopped due to a poke before, and then they got a warning. Then the second time it was a point, which I think the point was a bit. I mean, I hate eye pokes, but I don't know. It's a tough call, man.
I think we're just seeing refs pretty much being like, the first warning's in the back. Like, that is now the standard in MMA. If the instructions you get in the back with the referee, that's the first warning. So if you do the foul, some of these refs are just going to take the point right away. Like, we've seen it regionally.
It's so hard, man, because you tell, and when he did it, he was actually throwing a kick. And when you do throw a kick, you put your hand out as far as a distance finder, and you can't put your hand out like this when you do it. You put your hand out like this just because you're trying to keep range. And I know it's a pain in the ass with the fingers and 90% of the pokes are not intentional. It's just part of the game, and just something that it just sucks to lose a point because of that, right? I don't know. It's shitty, man. It sucks.
Yeah, so the scorecards were actually 48 to 46. My apologies there, just checking them out across the board. But for Marvin,
I did score him 2 rounds. I thought he won 2 rounds.
Yeah, he definitely landed those head kicks a couple times that, anyone else other than Marvin Vettori having a chin like that, he probably may have won the fight. Had a finish there, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I scored him winning the rounds 2 and 5.
Yeah, okay. I can see that. I can make the case for it. And like we said, good for Costa. He fought hard, did enough to probably keep himself a roster spot. But for Vettori, it's your third fight of the year. You're coming off a title loss against the champion where, you had a moment or two, but really got dominated. But you put yourself still in the bubble of being around to be towards the mix. He's probably not next in line, but he'd be next in line, if anything, if he gets another win early in the new year. Yeah,
it keeps him right up in that, amongst the top, probably, 3-4 guys in the division. So that's a huge win for him. And like you said, it probably lines up another big fight, which another win could possibly put you right back and maybe get a rematch, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it was a pretty It was an okay, early enough card with some good fights, but I mean the main event's what we wanted to watch that UFC for. But earlier on in the afternoon, I guess we should say, was Fedor making his return for
Yeah.
Bellator and his return to Russia. Took on Timothy Johnson, and we talked last week that this fight had the chance of being just wild and crazy and not going long. And well, that's exactly what happened. But
Mm-hmm.
Fedor, I thought he looked fantastic. The best we've seen Fedor look in a long time for Bellator, even just for a top promotion like that. Like, I can't remember the last time I've seen Fedor look that good. Beautiful right hook that just floored Tim Johnson. And I mean, Fedor's got one fight left on his contract. I'd say, why not just let him have a rematch here with Bader?
Yeah, I'm torn. I love Fedor, man. To me, he is the greatest heavyweight of all time. Um, a lot of people, especially now, like the casual fans, don't see what he accomplished for like 10 years. You know what I mean? In Pride, and yeah, it's hard to top this. You know what I mean? You have one more fight left, but you just fought in Moscow. In Russia. You got an amazing knockout first round over a legit opponent too. So it really, how can you top this? You know what I mean? What I know, one more fight, you make more money and you still have the urge to fight. I totally understand that. Just like how, what if you risk, going out like this would be the best way to go out. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's tough. I would love to see him fight again because I'm a huge fan, but yeah, this is like kind of the best way you can go out, really, unless you're one of those guys that you kind of want to go out like Goon style. You know what I mean? I forgot the guy's name in Goon, the other fighter, but kind of going out on your shield and passing the torch type thing. Not trying
Yeah,
to lose, obviously, but like
yeah. I see your point, and obviously this would be the best way for Fedor to end his run here with Bellator. But he seems like he's still got the itch and wants to still fight. Like, he wasn't even 100% committing that this was it. But
yeah,
I don't know. I could just see him, getting one more fight in at least. Maybe, like, we don't even know. I mean, we're just talking. Maybe you could get it again in Russia. I don't know if he's fighting Bader. You could do the Rocky kind of USA versus Russia thing there with Bader. I don't know who you give him, but it seems like he still wants to fight. And I think when he fights, it's still a big deal. Like, to me, like, it felt important that you had to tune in and watch this. And Bellator needs events like that, whether it be early in the afternoon or on a Saturday head-to-head with the UFC. They need something that sets them apart, and they got a guy that's arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time, and as a guy that's never stepped in foot at the UFC octagon.
yeah, yeah, exactly, man. And even like like we said, like the opponent that he fought, it was no slouch. Tim Johnson's is good, man. Big man, hits hard. Very durable. And where I was worried, like at some of those early exchanges, I'm like, oh man, who cracks who first, is going to go out. And but yeah, but his hand speed, dude, that shit hasn't
Yeah.
slowed down. He's still for 44 or whatever he is, slinging quick, dude. Pretty crazy to see. 20, probably 20 plus years in the game, more than that. Yeah. And he's still looking like that, which is pretty incredible. So good for him. And yeah, like I said, he's my favorite heavyweight.
And I think the thing too is no one wants to see Fedor take damage, so there's always the risk
Yeah.
if he gets another fight and he's taken a lot of damage since he lost his first fight to Verdum back in like 2010 in Strikeforce. So there's always the worry of that. But you see him, how he fought. His hand speed, as you said, looked tremendous, and he beat a guy that was like the number 2 ranked heavyweight in Bellator. I know we don't take rankings as the most serious thing here on this podcast, but still a guy that, he wins that fight, does Tim Johnson. He's definitely the next guy in line to fight for a heavyweight title. But hey, you know what? I was impressed. I think the overall consensus around the MMA circle is that was just a good feel-good story. I don't know what happens next of it. Still, like I said, he still has one fight left on his contract, but I think it couldn't have been any more exciting and any more of a win for Bellator than having Fedor have a performance like that.
Oh yeah, man, home run for sure. Yeah, you can't ask for anything else. Like the Russian hero, of mixed martial arts. Still fighting in Moscow. First time Bellator's been to Russia, and to have a main event it and then get the knockout in the first round, pretty incredible.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, Bellator, they keep making announcements. Obviously, we know not this week upcoming, but the following Friday, they're once again back in Ireland with the lightweight championship. Peter Queally versus Patricky Pitbull. And then they got a show in December where they closed things out. They also announced Kyoji Horiguchi versus Sergio Pettis for the bantamweight title. Obviously, that makes you have your keen interest. And then, I mean, we talked last week, Josh, that you had a fight, and it looks like it's now been finally released, and you got to fight. You have that fight before the end of the year.
I do, man. Yeah, I do. I don't even know if I'm officially allowed to say it, but whatever. I seen it posted, and somebody else posted it too, so it's out there already. So, but yeah, man, December 3rd, I'm back in the cage. You know, but Bellator going to Russia, going to Ireland, going to Florida, Phoenix. But when I get on these cards, I go right back to good old Connecticut.
Yeah, I mean, you're just the fan favorite right now for beautiful Mohegan Sun in Uncasville, Connecticut.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, this is a pretty exciting fight. Obviously, you're coming off of the loss there to Stotts, but you're taking on a guy like Jared Scoggins, who's made his Bellator debut, but is a vet of the top regional promotion in the state, CFFC. I mean, this has got to excite you. This is a pretty exciting matchup here at 135 for Bellator, and a card that's going to be filled with a lot of 135ers.
Yeah, I guess I understand the reason why they put us on this now after I seen the main event with Pettis and Horiguchi. Yeah, I like it, man. Yeah, it's a exciting match. I'm excited for it. Scoggins is a tough, durable guy. I've seen that he's had 3 fights fall through. Trying to make his Bellator debut. I think one was like missing weight of him, his opponent. One was COVID, and then one was an injury. So he's had some shitty luck trying to get a fight. So hopefully that thing goes smooth, and when we both meet in the cage and there's no shit that happens beforehand. So, but yeah, man, I'm excited for this one. Like I said, he's a tough, durable guy, and I think the clash of styles will make for an exciting fight. And yeah, I want to get right back in the win column.
Yeah, I mean, especially with all the bantamweights out there, and that's got to excite you too. You're kind of welcoming a guy to Bellator after this would be your 4th fight in Bellator as well. So,
I mean, I asked for a ranked guy in the top 10. That's what I wanted. Just for whatever reason, it wasn't working out, and speaking, we talked about like rankings are just kind of they're all over the place right now, and so it doesn't really matter. But I'd obviously like to fight somebody in the top 10, even higher than me. A number 6 and below would be great, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. Fight's a fight, and yeah, man, just gotta beat this next guy, and then that's all that's important right now.
How's the body feeling as we're a couple months, almost more than a month away from that fight taking place, Josh? I know you had a little bit of injuries going into the Rafian Stotts fight, and now how is everything feeling?
Yeah, it's good, man. I'm feeling good. Yeah, it's been, I had a nagging injury, man. That's been freaking bothered me since last October, actually. And yeah, I dealt with it all through the Stotts. But I've just been doing lots of physio, lots of rehab on it, trying to do my best to heal up. But I feel really good. Yeah, I feel really good, actually. And I'm still 5.5 weeks out. So yeah, I'll be in great shape. I'm in great shape already. So
well, you're always in great shape. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts denying that. But I mean, it's gonna be exciting. And I'm happy that you actually did get a fight towards the end of the year. I know you wanted one, and you get an early Christmas gift here on December 3rd.
Yeah, it's a good timing too. I always love that. always dread the early like January ones, right? Because it sucks. You got to go through the holidays and eat dieting, and everybody's having Christmas drinks and stuff like that, and you gotta kind of be sit there, drink your water. But no, yeah, December 3rd is a great time. Finish the year out with another fight, another win, and then enjoy the rest of the year, and then get right back to it. And hopefully, I mean, all goes well. I'm not looking past this one, of course not, but hopefully get a quick turnaround would be nice. Like February, March, or something like that.
Well, we can't wait for that, Josh. Obviously, where it'll be the gentleman versus the psycho in Jared Scoggins.
Yeah.
So contrast in nicknames, contrast in styles, and
Yeah.
should be one of the more exciting bouts in a bantamweight-filled Bellator 272 card to close out 2021 for Bellator mixed martial arts.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it should be good. I'm pumped up for it. So, yeah, I'm excited to get back in there.
And also, how excited are you to be on this Pettis Horiguchi fight? I mean, that's also pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, the last my last card that I was on was kind of filled with bantamweights too. It was me and Stotts, and there was Patty Mix versus, he was supposed to fight Gallagher, but that got switched and he fought somebody else. And there was also Perez versus somebody, and then there was the Archuleta versus Pettis one. So it was kind of filled with bantamweight. So I think this is kind of going to be very similar to that. I seen they announced that one. That's a great fight. Really good fight. I seen Horiguchi was they signed him back to Bellator. I texted my manager and I said, Horiguchi question mark, like, trying to get him as a fight, just because he's obviously very, very good, but it's a big name, right? So it'd be an awesome fight, an awesome win over him. But yeah, and then he said no, he's fighting for the title. So I was kind of expecting this to be sooner or later. So that makes sense that it was December 3rd. But yeah, that's a good fight, man. I'm looking forward to watching that one.
I think we all are. I think it's obviously the biggest test for Sergio Pettis. I mean, Horiguchi was the champion, but he gracefully relinquished the belts after he tore his ACL and was out. He knew he would be out for a full year. Also gave up his Ryzen belt in Japan. So this is a guy he claimed one belt back earlier this year, and he's looking to claim another one back. And I guess kick off once again this Bellator Ryzen working agreement. I expect to see. I know he's a Bellator property, but I mean he's pretty much the gateway to getting more of these crossover guys coming into Bellator, or Bellator going to Ryzen in Japan.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, if he wins, having both belts could definitely lead for something like that again, maybe early 2022 or mid 2022.
Well, once again, best of luck on your fight, and that's going to be an exciting card. And Bellator, they've built themselves up some excitement to close out 2021 with that card as well. Bellator 271. You've got Cyborg back, and we just had Fedor. We have a lightweight title fight, so there's a lot of intrigue for Bellator. A much more strong finish to 2021 than they had finishing out 2020.
Yeah, there's some good fights, man. Yeah, I'm excited to see the rest of them, and yeah, they're closing the year out pretty strong, and I think 2022 might be even a better year for them.
I think so as well. Hopefully, I haven't lost you here, Josh, but I definitely agree that the momentum's there. They can get the ratings up as well. That'd be a big win for Bellator, but they got some great fights, and if you can sense the momentum is rising, and a promotion that, well, they close out their year tomorrow night is the PFL, their championship card, with giving out $6 million in all their weight classes. You've got the women's lightweight, featherweight, light heavyweight, I think, and welterweight, of course. It's always exciting, I guess, to see these matchups and shows just how good Ray Seffel and the crew are getting some talent, because a lot of people thought some of these weight classes would have those ex-UFC guys for sure just penciled in, but it doesn't work out like that. And of course, the main event is Kayla Harrison as she takes on Taylor Aguado, I believe is the last name. Taylor Gerardo, excuse me, who's 2-1. Kayla Harrison 11-0. This is her fight under the PFL contract. I think we're expecting her to win and win viciously. You can never count anyone out, but I mean, if Kayla wins this, I think she's got some serious options in the free agency side of things.
2-1, and you're the main event and fighting for $1 million.
Hey, that's how the tournament worked out, man.
Crazy, right? I got 2-1, crazy. But hey, good for that girl. Yeah. Like we talked about before, no disrespect to Kayla Harrison, but this tournament is kind of like made for her to, I just think there's such a skill set gap between her and the opponents that she's had. But yeah, good for her. I mean, if you can stay in, I would stay there until I'm retired. You know what I mean? Just sitting there and just banking money, or at least until I had enough money. Then I'm like, you know what? Okay, now I want to like really challenge myself against the absolute best there is. But yeah, as a free agent, like you said, yeah, there's definitely, I think, shows some options. And like I said to you before, I don't see her going to the UFC, because there's no 55 there. She'd have to cut down to 45, and she's training partners with Nunes.
Yeah.
So I just don't see that happening. I don't see why they would pay her to bring her over. The only option I see for her is either re-sign with PFL again or to go to Bellator and have the fight with Cyborg, which is the fight I want to see for sure. So I think those are what will happen. One of those two things, and just we'll see what happens come tomorrow night. But I think those are probably the best bets.
I think so too. I think if you're Bellator, you're obviously really going to try to sell Kayla on coming. You're probably going to pay her as much or more than what you're paying Cyborg to come compete for you. But I mean, PFL, they're trying to keep her, or at least, the potentials of these fights with, Clarissa Shields down the line, though Clarissa Shields is saying that she doesn't even want to enter this tournament until 2023, so she can get a lot better at mixed martial arts, which, I mean, good on her, but I don't think that's in the PFL's interest. And PFL also signed Julia Budd, who's the former Bellator women's featherweight champion, and she's fighting on this card in a showcase lightweight bout against Caitlin Young. So that's someone I guess they're trying, but I don't know how much that can will someone to stay. Is like, as good of a fighter as Julia Budd is, if Bellator's going to offer you a lot of money, or PFL, if they're going to offer you a lot of money, that's the only thing I could see her staying and, being in a tournament where she's going to be the odds-on favorite every year.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Only time will tell. Caitlin Young, who that name sounds familiar. Did she fight in the UFC?
She was a UFC vet. She was in this season of the lightweight tournament for the PFL, women's lightweight tournament for the PFL.
Wasn't she a 35er or like a smaller weight class though?
I believe she was a 45er in the UFC.
Okay.
She may or may not have gone up. She also fought in Invicta. Caitlin Young, no, maybe she didn't even fight in the UFC. Excuse me. She's an Invicta vet, and she's fought she fought Gina Carano back in the day in Elite XC at featherweight.
Maybe that's where I remember. I think that's where I remember the name from, dude. Yeah, I remember that name though, Caitlin Young. I haven't heard it in a long time, but
yes. So she was in this year's tournament, and she went 1-1, lost a split decision to Mariana Moraes back in June. But yeah, so she's a vet, but nonetheless, Julia Budd's a good name, but I don't know if that's like enough to keep her around, that it being Kayla Harrison. But
as far as signing somebody that would be a potential threat, I think Cyborg would be the number one, of course. But yeah, Julia Budd would probably be a second, really. If you're thinking about anybody that's outside of, other than Nunes, but like we said, they're training partners. I think Julia Budd would probably be your next biggest threat, I guess. Yeah, so that's a good signing for them if they're going to keep Harrison.
Yeah, when you look at this tournament overall, Kayla's obviously in the main event. She's the marquee player. Clarissa Shields having her second MMA fight in a matter of months. That's obviously someone who PFL is trying to market hard, and good for her for making the effort and trying to compete. She's fighting pretty high up on the card, and I think she wanted to fight a little lower down because she knows she wants to improve everywhere. She's fighting the 2-0 Abigail Montez, who's coming off her 2 wins are a decision and ground and pound in the second round. But, she has a chance against Clarissa. I mean, Clarissa had some rocky moments there in her pro debut and then eventually was able to get the victory. But you can never really count. That's what makes these interesting is this is someone PFL's trying to market for their women's side of things, but she's fighting someone with, this will be now her 3rd professional MMA fight, and that has a good chance of winning.
Yeah, very similar to like Aaron Pico in his rise with Bellator. There was so much hype on him, right? And then he kind of stumbled out of the gate with, the first fight I think he got choked, and then I think he won a bit, and then he got, kind of got caught, with a couple big bombs and knocked out a few times, and it's kind of like, oh my God, this is the guy that you're promoting or trying to build up, and he's losing. But I just, I think it may have just been too much too early, and just need a little more time to progress, and then and look at Pico now, and how on fire he is, right? So it might, I don't know, it could be one of those situations, or maybe not. It could just be, hyping her up, and she might just do well out of the gate and continue that success.
I think the biggest thing Abigail has going for her is Shields has already booked herself another boxing fight for the end of the year in December. So you could be trying to do too much in close to Shields. You're obviously trying to focus. You want the win here, and then you got to go right back to the gym to focus on boxing. It could be spreading yourself a little too thin, whereas Abigail Montez here, she's just focusing on this fight and looking to probably secure a spot.
Yeah, she's looking to play spoiler, right? All the pressure's on Shields, they're trying to build her up so she can come in and just kind of be like, nope, I'm wrecking your plans.
Well, the rest of the fights here for the championships, I think, have a lot of intrigue. Obviously, I think the biggest one is the welterweight one with Magomed Karimov versus Ray Cooper III. Where this is the 2018 champion versus the 2019 champion here in 2021. So 2 guys that are the only champions in this weight class for PFL. And Ray Cooper III had to cut his hair because he was having a bad weight cut. So to make that championship weight, he had to shave those glorious locks. So he now got a crew cut. I don't know how that'll have a psychiatric effect on him, maybe, but I'm expecting this to be a really competitive fight. Obviously, we know what Magomed Karimov can do, but Cooper's really developed into a complete mixed martial artist. Obviously, we know he's got crazy power, but his wrestling has really evolved over the past 2 seasons of his time here in the PFL.
Yeah. Cutting her hair, man. His power might be in his hair. You know what I mean?
Like Samson. Yeah,
it might be gone now. Yeah, for sure. When I first saw him fight, it was like, he looked like more of like just a heavy-handed brawler. You just didn't want to sit in the pocket with him because that's his best chance to win. But you've seen in his fights like with Rory, his good wrestling, good top control, and grappling. So definitely improving everywhere, and a big threat, and showing why he's one of the best welterweights in the world right now. You got a chance to do it again.
It can't be understated how much he dominated Rory McDonald on the ground. Yeah. Like, we all thought that world was Rory's. He was going to either get the takedowns, get a submission, and it was Ray Cooper III that was dictating the action, going in for takedowns, having top control, having, full mount, side control, whatever it may be. I think that was, that's a real eye-opener just to how talented and evolved the game is for Ray Cooper III. And I'm expecting this one to be maybe the most competitive and interesting fight for 2 real faces of the PFL right now.
Yeah, and that just shows you, like, there's so many good guys, man, like all over the place, all over the world, and so many good guys that you've never even heard of yet. You know what I mean? Or maybe never even will hear of. They're just so, but like, that's why, UFC has so many good guys as well. They have the deepest roster for sure. But yeah, the other guys that you're coming up, look at, like you mentioned, like all the people in the championship, there's no ex-UFC guys, you know what I mean? No. That's it. That's what I mean. It just goes to show, like, there's so many good guys out there that are not just in the UFC, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's good. It's good for PFL, because it kind of says, no, like, these are our homegrown guys that were really not big names before this, and now they're, champs and fighting for a mill.
Well, I should say there is one ex-UFC guy in Antonio Carlos Jr., aka Shoeface, who got cut and pretty
yeah,
much went right
right.
to the PFL
Yeah.
and is now in the final here against Martin Hamlet, which I think should be a fun light heavyweight fight. But I mean, we were all looking at like the lightweight, the lightweight division. It's just going to be Anthony Pettis. He's the big deal. He's going to come in there,
Yeah.
former WEC, UFC champion, and he didn't look great at all in any of his fights. He had moments, but this wasn't the Anthony Pettis that we thought we were going to get. Like we had Clay Collard really take it to him, and then he lost to Hausch Manfio, who's now in the final. And Manfio was the guy that literally, before getting an opportunity in the PFL, was going to call it a career. And just crazy how life can be and how the sport can be.
Imagine that, eh? Like, imagine you're about to call it a career and then you say no, and then what if he wins this tournament? There, just change his life.
Exactly. I mean, it's the first fight too for of all the championships, I should say. It's the first one there. So I mean, I'm excited for that one. I'm excited for the featherweight one as well with Chris Wade, who came down a weight class, was in lightweight, now is the featherweight, and showcased his wrestling and really was able to out wrestle Bubba Jenkins, which I think surprised a lot of people coming in here. And now he's taking on the very talented Mavlet Kabalayev, who's obviously got the flying knee, but just a complete level, high level mixed martial arts, trains with Khabib. I mean, I think this one could be either like up there with the welterweight final, a fight of the night potential, or it can be, you can't expect some stuff that could happen in there. It could be Kabalayev dominating, but we can't count Wade out. He's looked perfect at 145.
Yeah, that's a good fight, man. I'm excited for that one. The feather, I mean, I don't know. That was probably the weight class I was looking forward to most, and it kind of delivered the most for me. That's an exciting finish just to that season.
Yeah, and I've heard from some of the PFL execs through the media this week that they're thinking of like adding some more weight classes for the women at least. So it just won't be women's 155. There'll probably be, hopefully a either 135, 125, 145, 115, whatever it may be. I think there's a lot of talent out there, as we just said, that you could see some other women thrown in there because the women's fights always have been delivering across the board. But yeah, this is a big deal for the PFL. Wednesday night, they close out their year early. Normally, it's a New Year's Eve thing. They close it out just before Halloween. And they also got some guys they've signed that are going to be in tournaments for next year. Like we mentioned, Julia Budd. They signed Don Madge, who came in from the UFC, is a talented fighter out of South Africa. So, I mean, this is a kind of a get to showcase some talent out as well before and kind of set up some guys going into the 2022 PFL season.
Yeah, and still no bantamweights for men. What the hell? What they got against the bantamweights there?
I don't know, but you'd think that one for sure would be a weight class with how much talent is out there right now. It's like the division in MMA.
I know. I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe I guess they had a cutoff at some point, and I don't know. They said the lowest will go is 45, but yeah, I'm surprised by that.
I think it would be interesting if they were like, some of these promotions that have like the 165, like create a tournament, a weight class just for that, kind of market it as their own thing, set themselves apart, get some guys that are coming down from welterweight or going up from lightweight. Like you can have a nice mishmash of talent across. And I wonder if they would do something like that. Doesn't seem to be in their cards. I'm just spitballing here, but I think you may want to do something like that because the weight classes that have been set in stone are nice, but you kind of want your own thing a little bit.
Yeah, it'd be good to be, somewhat unique, I guess, to your own and offer that, because I know there are a lot of guys would jump on like a 65-pound weight class or something like that because like they're just a little bit too big for lightweight. It kills them, but they're kind of undersized at welter. So yeah, that'd be cool. More like a 195 we said, or a 225 or something like that. Yeah,
set yourself apart and get some unique weight classes. Set yourself apart, because I mean, with 165, UFC's been asked, why don't you do that? And they seem adamant they'll never do that weight class.
Yeah.
So why not just do that? But as we transition away from the PFL and their championship card, which goes down tomorrow night, we move over to the UFC, which has their first of 2 weekends in a row with a pay-per-view, UFC 267 from Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi, where we have not one, but 2 championships. The light heavyweight championships on the line as Jan Blachowicz defends against Glover Teixeira, And Petr Yan goes after the interim bantamweight championship now against Corey Sandhagen after Aljamain Sterling wasn't medically cleared, so we needed this. And of all the interim title fights, Josh, this is the one that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. For sure. It's so weird how it played out, you know what I mean? But I guess it's good for Sandhagen, because, you know, having that such a close fight, lost to TJ, and then now getting a chance. It's very rare that somebody gets a title fight off a loss. Doesn't happen often.
Except in the UFC. Except in the UFC, where sometimes that just works out for you.
It's just whatever is makes the most money, and but yeah, good. It's a good chance for him, right? It's an interesting matchup. That's an exciting fight. Yeah, him and Yan, like Yan will be the shorter of the two, and yeah, man, that's a good fight. I don't know who to pick in that one, to be honest. I have no idea. I seen that Sandhagen was the underdog, actually. I think like 2 or 3 to 1. I seen, so that might be a good bet, just because it's such a close fight. Like it's hard to pick really in that one. I don't know who would win that, to be honest.
I don't know either. There's so much like going into it. Like obviously Jan's coming off a performance he probably isn't the most proud of, especially after losing the title as a result of a disqualification. And there's Corey Sandhagen, who's coming off like a knockout of the year and then a fight of the year against TJ. So this is a guy that can, push it for the full 25 minutes if needed. And if Sandhagen wins, he sets himself up kind of in a unique spot where he'd be the interim champion, could potentially in the New Year fight Aljo, the last guy to beat him, to unify the belts. I think that would make for an interesting thing. But I mean, there's also the marketing side where if you're UFC, if Yan wins, and I think the odds are favoring that, you get finally to have the rematch after that controversial fight they had in March. But I'm leaning Yan. I just think Yan's just so dynamic, so explosive. But I expect it to be as exciting or as competitive and violent as the Sandhagen Dillashaw fight was back in July.
Yeah, it's kind of best case scenario for the UFC, because you said it sets up 2 rematches, no matter which way whoever wins, right? So you can really market it as that. I know the fight with Sandhagen lost the fight with TJ, but it was very, very close. Could have went either way. But when he fought Aljo, it was definitive. Got choked out in the first. So that you could build that back up as a nice rematch, and how far Sandhagen's come since then with all his big wins, and then the Yan one, obviously that kind of sells itself with the background there. So either way, whoever wins, they got a good next a unified fight lined up between whatever 3 of them.
And Jan's got the good juju there in Abu Dhabi. That's where he won the title after he beat up Jose Aldo a few years ago. So, I mean, he's got some good luck. He's hoping for that to carry forward. But, I mean, this is Sandhagen's one of his bigger moments here, and I think he's ready for it. I think the loss may push him to that moment where he could get over the edge, but Jan's so tough. I mean, every time you talk about the positives of one guy, you're like, well, this could happen. So that's what makes this fight compelling, and I think is probably going to be the best fight on this card. I'm very excited for it. And, we had a dumb heavyweight title interim situation this year. This one makes the most sense to me. Yeah. If Sterling's not going to get cleared, let these two fight for the title. Maybe Dillashaw should have been there, but he's not ready, and Sandhagen is. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm good with it too.
And then the main event is for the light heavyweight championship, Jan Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira. And I think it's a big statement fight here for Blachowicz, because obviously he's now kind of gotten into this verbal online sparring with Corey Anderson, who never doesn't fight in Bellator, fights in Bellator, doesn't fight in the UFC anymore. And 2, he's fighting an actual light heavyweight here. He's not fighting a blown up middleweight like Israel Adesanya. I think this is the pressure right here is on Jan. Like I know he had success there before, won the title against the likes there of Dominic Reyes, but I can't count out Glover. It seems like it's his last kick at the can. He's a veteran. He has nothing. Jan's going to throw at him is something he hasn't seen before. I think it'd make just a great story if Teixeira was able to win this fight.
I would love to see him win, man. Just kind of like how I love to see Jan win, you know, a guy that's been there and done that and had ups and downs and wins and losses and stuck with it and got a shot at the title. And but yeah, same with Glover. He's been around a long time. Has fought for the belt before, but you know, built himself back up again. At what is he, 43, something like that?
Teixeira, yeah, he is 41.
Right. 41. Okay, so
He
not as
actually will just turn 42
42.
2 days after, 2 days before this card, actually.
Oh, okay, so 42. You know, I mean, the higher up in weight class you get, usually the later in age they tend to compete, right? Just because, you know, a lot less like movements and speed is a little bit less of a factor there. But yeah, I would love to see him get that win, to be honest, man. He can definitely do it. Um, I think Glover probably has more ways to win than Jan does. But just whether or not Glover can stay away from the power of Jan, I think that'll be the deciding factor.
I think if he either stays away from the power of Jan or survives it, I
Yeah.
think that's going to be the big thing. Obviously, the first round, I think first 2 rounds is going to be really where Jan's going to be the more dangerous. But I think if Glover can show off that chin that he's shown off many times before in the UFC, survive a couple of those blows, he can get the fight to the ground, use his ground and pound or submission. I think that's his key to victory right there, is surviving, weathering the storm early, and then getting the fight to the ground and either showcasing ground and pound or his strong submission game.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's your best route to victory, and make it look to be a wrestling grappling match. You know, stay away from the power shots. Get inside, or you're all the way out. Don't stay in that mid range. And that's his best bet, best route to victory, I think.
And this card is so good. Like, obviously the main and co-main are fantastic, but when you look at this undercard, like Dan Hooker, Islam Makhachev, like Dan Hooker's fighting a month after he may or may not have been able to fight because of the visa issues. He fights a month late. Like, Dan Hooker is a freaking superhero of mixed martial arts and willing to step up to fight Islam Makhachev, who everyone's proclaiming as the next Khabib at 155. I mean, Hooker is just fearless, and I think we have to commend his willingness to take these risks that 9 out of 10 fighters wouldn't.
Yeah, man. Yep. Yeah, for sure. It's not a guy that it's a guy that's people are steering away from just because of he's very, very good, but also his style. It's very hard to deal with, and it's hard to be an exciting matchup with him. Because of how he'll be, just constantly pressuring you and just having that top position and grinding you out and really, making you just fatigued and exhausted. So, yeah, it's a tough fight for sure. Yeah, kudos to him for stepping up and taking it. He's proven himself many times, man. I think everybody that knows how, how tough and durable and good he is. So, tough fight ahead for sure, but kudos for stepping up and doing it.
Yeah, I just can't commend the guy enough for stepping up when Dos Anjos is out. We're not even sure if we can keep Makhachev on the card. He's like, I'll step up. I'll get another fight in under my belt before I have to quarantine for, the rest of the year and back to when I get to New Zealand. So,
Insane.
good on him for that. And then I guess the other big story is it's the return of Khamzat Chimaev, Josh, who obviously took the UFC by storm in the summer of 2020, and was the breakthrough fighter. Really had some of the best performances. One of the most dominating against Reese McKee, choked out John Phillips, and then beat Gerald Meerschaert in just 17 seconds. But since then, we haven't been able to see him. He was supposed to fight Leon Edwards not once, not twice, but thrice, and then he got a really bad bout of COVID where it was scary there for a while, where we weren't sure if we'd ever see Chimaev again. But he's healthy now. He's back here on this card, but he's got a tough test here against the Leech in Li Jingliang.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about that Li Jingliang guy. And that Khamzat, from what I've seen, he just kind of dominated. very quickly to the opponents that I've seen him face. So definitely an exciting prospect, and exciting to see him back from the time away out of the cage. It's been a while. So yeah, that's I look forward to seeing what he can bring, especially after being out for so long.
I look forward to seeing what Chimaev can do, but I think the Leech here, Li Jingliang's gonna really push him. He can take a couple good shots. I think obviously Chimaev wants to just do what he does best, is just use that Russian style wrestling, get the takedowns and maul you. But I mean, Jingliang, he's coming off his biggest win of his career with a knockout of Santiago Ponzinibbio back in January. So it's been a while for him. It's been a while for him since he fought. But you're getting a primetime spot here on a pay-per-view that a lot of people are going to be having eyeballs on, and I expect Jingliang to push it. And there's always still the unknown of what you can do coming off of COVID, especially a bad case of COVID that Chimaev did have.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't really know. I mean, it's pretty rare. You know what I mean? That happens. You know what I mean? There's probably only like two MMA fighters that I've known that it was really affected them really badly. You know what I mean? The rest, it seems to not be too big of a deal. But yeah, we don't know if there is any kind of lasting effects from that, right? So it could be, you know what I mean? It could maybe take away like some of that lung capacity, right? So we don't really know that. That's kind of the unknown. Hopefully not. And we just kind of got to see.
Exactly. We got to see. This is like for an Abu Dhabi card and paper. This is a really solid one, as we mentioned. Those 4 fights alone. It's not like back in the day where there'd be like big main event in Abu Dhabi, and then everything else is
Yeah.
guys either making their debut or second or third fight in the UFC where they'd been buried on prelims beforehand. So this is a very, very good card for UFC 267, and it's an early start time, 11:30 prelims.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I'm gonna miss half the fight just because during sparring time, right? But yeah, I do like the earlier cards. For me, if I had to like choose, I do think I love like prelims at 4, main card 7. That's still the best time for the early ones. It's just kind of hard to catch if you got shit going on.
I think for me, the dream is being on the West Coast and watching these cards, where
Yeah, so that'd be the 4 and 7,
it's
right?
like it's done at 1:30 a.m. Eastern, but you still got tons of time left out in the West Coast. You can
Right.
still like spend some time with family and friends or whatever after the fact, or if a show ends early or whatever, it still wins out for you. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's about that. But before I go, as well as we got to keep our keen eye on Canadian MMA. And
Oh
then,
yeah.
BTC just announced probably one of the best fights to hit the regional scene in Canada in a very long time, definitely since post the pandemic here, with former Strikeforce and Invicta women's bantamweight champion Sarah Kaufman taking on Bellator veteran Jesse Miley here at a featherweight bout, which will be the main event at BTC 13 on November the 20th in St. Catharines. And Josh, I mean, that's a banger. That's high quality. That's prime rib right there.
Yeah, man. I didn't even know, but I've talked to Rob all the time about stuff, but he didn't mention this one. And yeah, I was pretty shocked to see that. And I remember seeing Sarah at the when we did the Vancouver show.
Yeah,
Just kind of, hi, what's up, how's it going? And then I was just kind of wondering what was next for her. I wasn't sure because she was recently with PFL, right?
yeah, 2019. Yeah,
Yeah, so I was just kind of, not sure what, but yeah, to see her pop up and be fighting at the BTC, that's pretty awesome, man. And pretty cool. I'm pretty stoked that we get to call the fight. Um, yeah, I think she's a vet, man. She's been around long time, been at the top, fought some killers, and has done very well and had a very good career. So it's and then yeah, her opponent actually was on one of my cards actually. Which one was it? Was it my last one or the fight before? It was one of the I think it was when I fought Perez, that card. I'm pretty sure she was on that one as well. And she lost. I didn't get to see the fight, but from what I think she fought Julia Budd actually, if I'm not mistaken.
that was her second fight with Bellator. Bellator 244. back when she was on that card with you. That was of course Unkinsville in August of
Yeah.
August of 2020.
Right. That's right. Yeah, that was the Pres one. Yeah. But I knew that I seen the name right away and I was like, oh yeah, I know this girl. So yeah, Strike Force and Invicta vet and then PFL vet and a Bellator vet. So pretty good main event, man, to have for a Canadian show here and with BTC. That's awesome.
Exactly. I couldn't believe seeing that, but that's such a high quality main event. To headline a card that's got a lot of the future of Canadian MMA with, one of the women's pioneers of mixed martial arts in this country, Sarah Kaufman, taking on a very durable, very tough Widowmaker in Jessie Miley.
Yeah, I'm excited for it just because we've been the last 3 shows we've called. It's been more so up and coming talent, right? Which is great to call. It's been fun, but it's good to mix in some vets in there too, and we're getting 2 of that with these 2 ladies. So that's awesome.
Couldn't agree more. I'm excited for that, and it's crazy to think we're less than a month away from seeing those 2 ladies throw down in St. Catharines in the center of the BTC cage. And Canadian MMA, as we talked about, it just continues to move. Even got a new promotion in Canada with this Tarps Off MMA.
Yeah, Tarps Off. What a name. I've been talking to some of the guys. One of the matchmakers, Sergio, his name is, but. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about the show, but from just talking with him and dealing with him, he's been great. So like I always say, the more shows, the better for the fighters, better for the fans. So I hope they put on a good, successful show. And yeah, have another promotion out here in Canada and Ontario too. Just for more options for the guys, right?
Yeah, exactly. That Tarps Off one show will be December 18th. Right. In Niagara Falls with Michael Imperato versus Eric Wilson for the inaugural featherweight championship.
Oh, is that featherweight? Is that what it's at?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've seen a couple other fights they added too. But I thought it would be for their first show, I thought it'd be more just debuting guys, kind of really unknown. But they're bringing in some vets, which is pretty cool to see as well.
That they are, and they're getting that show streamed on Fight, so good for them for that. And so a lot of people can see what Tarps Off Mixed Martial Arts brings to the table for their first show to close out the year of MMA in Canada and pretty much the year of MMA, because the next week after that is Christmas. So they probably won't have another show up until the new year. But you know what? As you said, Josh, the more MMA promotions in this country, the better. So
absolutely.
So that's going to wind us down here. As always, a pleasure talking with you, Josh. And once again, congrats on the fight. And we can't wait to see that. And I'm sure training is going great. And can't believe that's less than 2 months away, almost 2 months away, less than that now.
Well, 5.5 weeks. Yeah, it's everything's coming so fast, man. Time's flying by. I'm telling you. But yeah, I'm stoked for it. It'll be here in no time. So they always go quick.
Well, Josh, as always, a pleasure chatting with you. If you want to follow Josh on Instagram, that's @GentlemanJHill. I'm sure he's going to put some solid Halloween memes up there, as Halloween is this Sunday, and I know Josh loves Halloween, so
I do.
Expect something up there.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure, man. I don't know. Did I mention it last time? I don't know if we did. Halloween Kills. I saw Halloween Kills. We got to talk about it quick.
Do it.
If you're a Halloween fan, do you watch Halloween?
I've watched the first one. That's it.
Oh, that's it. Like the original.
The 1978 one. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I'm a huge fan. Obviously, I was pumped to see this one. It was a good movie. I was pleased with it. I was happy with 85% of the movie. There's a few things that I didn't like, but overall, a good watch. Very, very action kind of oriented. Not so much action, but like just nonstop kills. So people that just want to see that, you'll like this movie. Overall, good flick though. Check it out.
I feel like you're trying to convince yourself that it was good, Josh. I think you're trying to have faith that it was good, but I don't think you really liked it that much.
I did. I honestly, right after it was done, I was like, I liked it. I did like it. I was very entertained. It didn't seem like it was going by too slow. They did some shit they did was awesome. like
Okay.
really, really good. And then, like I said, there's a couple things I just wish they had done differently or kind of nitpicking at. But other than that, overall, a good flick. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It gets the gentleman Josh Hill seal of approval.
It
So
gets the approval. I get the approval. Yeah,
so so if you're a horror fan and take Josh's recommendation, go see the new Halloween Kills film. It's in theaters, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you can hit up your local theater, as you know, those are things again now, which is weird to figure out, but they are back. You can go to a movie theater now and
Go to the movie, man. Yeah,
check it
everybody
out.
go to movies too before we ruined it, and there's no such thing anymore because everybody just sits at home and watches on demand.
No, the movie theater will be around forever because you can't beat what the experience is there.
Yeah, that's right. Good. I'm glad to hear you say that because it's such a can't lose that one. Okay.
I don't think we are, Josh. I think the cinema industry will do everything in their power to keep that as a thing because that's the excitement for them is just putting a movie out there. You go out there. They know how well it does on ticket sales. I mean, sure, buys and on-demand purchases are one thing, but that's not a solid enough metric for them. They want hard-earned cash.
Right. Exactly.
So make sure you go out see that movie. Halloween Kills, or any movie really in the time. But we'll be back next week to break down all the action in mixed martial arts and maybe even another movie review, especially when we post Halloween going into November. Can you believe that, Josh? November already.
I know, man. Crazy. That's what I mean. And time's just flying. So it's nuts.
Well, Josh, enjoy the rest of your week. Good luck with training, and we'll be back next week to break down all the happenings in mixed martial arts. So for the gentleman Josh Hill, I'm Jason Hagholm. Peace out, and we'll see you next week.